What? Yeah. No, I'm behaving myself. No, I'm not playing in abandoned buildings. What? Again? Now, I suppose you had those people follow me again. Fine. Hey, this is Jimmy Pharaoh from Monte and the Pharaoh, and I want to thank all our subscribers. We have now passed 14,000 on our YouTube channel. But I want to ask our subscribers to take the next step for us and become a full-fledged member of Monte and the Pharaoh. Yeah, that's right, folks. There's 3 different levels to choose from. There's free shirts. There's free autographs. Just check it out and become a member of Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte and the Pharaoh. Later.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestler broadcast, Monte the Pharaoh, only seen here out of Indie Music TV. At the board is Spidey for the double shot. What are you doing, Spidey?
What's up?
Spidey, you graduated school. How does it feel?
It feels good.
Yeah?
Now going to join the 9-to-5 life.
You know what you're going to realize, man? You're going to realize when you start getting older, you're going to be like, man, I shouldn't have rushed school so much.
I think I enjoyed my time.
Did you?
Yes.
You gonna write a book?
No.
Like
Why not?
everybody else in the world?
Might as well.
Just going to write a book? Just write a book about you and your life that no one will read.
It's been pretty crazy.
Isn't there a...
He's a legend in his own mind.
Isn't there a wrestling agent coming out with a book?
Oh, Jesus, another one?
Yeah.
Oh, great. What's that
It's
one
called like Movies. I forget what he named it. Movies, something, and wrestling.
Wow. Can I pre-order?
We're going to ask our guest after the commercial, what does he think of that guy? That's a good spot question.
Yeah, why
What do you
not?
think?
Yeah,
And that
sure,
wasn't
why
even planned. That just came right off the top of this
You're
bald
good
head
like
of mine.
that.
I am good like that.
It is a bald head. You're right.
All right, brother.
Yeah, go ahead. What do we got? What's on the docket? Because it's usually not wrestling first. So what kind of stuff you got this
Hall
time?
of Fame boxing referee Mills Lane passes away. Mills Lane's the iconic boxing referee who officiated the Mike Tyson Evander Holyfield bite fight. I didn't even know it was called the bite fight.
Is that what they call it?
That's what they call
Very
it.
interesting.
And a myriad other championship. You like that word, myriad?
Yeah, yeah.
It's good that someone wrote that for me.
It's kind of fancy.
Has died. The Nevada Hall of Fame confirmed on Tuesday. Pharaoh Mills Lane.
Mills Lane. Well, Mills Lane was obviously a great referee. He stands out. You know, it's weird. If you stand out as a referee in people's minds when it comes to sports, you must have been a pretty damn good referee, and he was. However, and rest in peace, Mr. Lane, I'm still mad at him for allowing Evander Holyfield to constantly headbutt Mike Tyson, which of course led to Mike saying, "Screw it, I'm taking your ear off."
Stop.
I still think that they should have just had a street fight. That would have settled everything.
Holyfield whipped his ass.
Yeah, right. Sure, he did. After with one headbutt after another. I watched it. I watched it again. I was like, what? And Mike was complaining about it too. Not that Mike was right to do what he did. Mike's a lunatic. I'm not excusing his obvious lunacy. He clearly couldn't beat Holyfield within the confines of the rules, one way or the other, and I'm admitting to that.
All right, good.
Okay,
Glad to hear it.
But what within the confines of the rules? But you know,
No, you see, you got to throw that in.
I have to.
He lost. End of
Let
story.
him go
That
fight
is all.
behind Taco Bell.
Still
Holyfield's
holding
done.
some love for Mike Tyson. Huh?
I love Mike Tyson. He's turned out okay. Leave him alone.
Christy Alley, cause of death revealed, was only recently discovered. Christy Alley died at 71 after a brief battle with colon cancer. A spokesperson for the veteran actress confirmed this official cause of death from People. Alley's family shared a statement posted to Twitter Monday that she passed away following a battle with cancer that was only recently discovered. Christy Alley, another icon, lost. Pharaoh.
Yeah, she was only 71 years old. Kirstie Alley, of course, from Cheers and the movie that made the Pharaoh cry, Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan.
Wrath of Khan.
What a wimp I am, but that's the truth. Obviously, made her mark. I was never the biggest Cheers fan. How about you? I mean, it's a great show. Can't say it's not.
I've watched my share of Cheers. It's a really good question. Was I a fan of it? I've watched my share. I loved Shelley Long.
Okay. Now,
Right.
didn't she replace?
She did replace Shelley Long.
So you got to give her credit for that. That's almost like a MASH situation
I always
where
found her-
Colonel Potter replaces it was a main character,
I
and the
always
show
found
continued
her
to.
very, very sexy.
Oh, absolutely.
JB said, "Look who's talking now."
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Another great movie with
Yeah.
Travolta and Kirstie Alley.
Absolutely. Great career. The colon cancer stuff scares me, as you know, because I've already had my stomach messed with. That's concerning.
J.A. Will says, at 50, you're supposed to start getting colonoscopies in an ideal situation. So, J.A., you're right.
Yeah.
I'm 55.
Yeah.
I had my first colonoscopy at 30-something because I thought something was going on. There was nothing.
Right.
I'm way overdue. I was actually
Right.
just talking to that with my brother-in-law, and everybody obviously knows my health problems I've had the last
Sure.
couple of years.
Sure.
So after the heart attack, no colonoscopy, right? Because they put me on blood
Yeah.
thinners.
Right.
Then after the surgery, my doctor's like, I'm not worried about a colonoscopy right now.
Right.
So
Right.
again, I recommend males and females. Really, you're supposed to get a colonoscopy after 45. If you clear at 45, then from what I read and understand, it's every 5 years after
Yeah.
that.
It hit me at 47, and
Have you ever had a colonoscopy?
not until that stuff started happening,
So
once
you're way overdue.
So
too.
it was too late for me just to begin with.
Right.
They had to do major surgery, and then after that, they did colonoscopies after a little time of healing to see how that was working out. But no, I should have gone much sooner. I had no idea. I just thought I had IBS syndrome.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Oh, so
Not
wait a
good.
minute. So when you had your surgery, it had to do with an intestinal problem.
Absolutely.
It wasn't colon
They
cancer.
removed
though.
but they removed
Okay.
2 feet of
Right.
my, intestinal. It was quite.
The
a bit.
shocking thing, like with Kirstie Alley, is colon cancer is, if caught
Scary
early enough,
stuff.
is somewhat treatable.
Yeah.
So
Scary stuff.
But then again, it starts with very simple.
Little warning signs, maybe.
No, well, your body has. I'm not using the right word. If someone can help me out there, not lesions, but little polyps. Polyps is the word.
Interesting.
So polyps become cancer.
Wow.
Jay Will says every 10 years they say it takes 10 years for the polyp to grow. Yeah,
Man.
that's what I'm hearing.
Oof.
Chris,
Alrighty then.
Jason Morning, Kirstie Alley was drop dead gorgeous. She was.
She sure was.
Hot, hotter.
Harder
hell.
than hot?
Hotter than
hell. Nice.
I like the band that sings the theme song for Monte and Pharaoh and Jimmy Farrow, along with his partner Bart Griggs. Make up the band Wisteria Hall.
Bart, man!
Wisteria Hall sings such songs as In My Dreams, This Life, Not Far Behind, Here Comes the Rain. You can find their music on the Wisteria Hall YouTube page. Please hit that like and subscribe. That was the temporary home of the old Monte and the Pharaoh page that was taken down by YouTube. And we want to thank you guys for putting that up. You can download Wisteria Hall's music on Spotify, Apple Music, and Reverb Nation. You know what's funny?
What?
I checked to see if you guys are trademarked.
Yeah.
And both you and Bart have separate trademarks, right?
Interesting.
Did you know that?
Very interesting.
Did you know that?
I know everything.
Okay, you never told me that. Hiding secrets from your partner.
That's a secret.
Monte and the Pharaoh can be seen. And if you didn't know it, you are watching Monte and the Pharaoh. It can be seen on the Monte and the Pharaoh YouTube page, where we had over 2 million views, but now we're starting over.
Had.
Facebook Live page on the Monte and the Pharaoh Facebook Live page. Here's on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, and the Twitch TV Monte and the Pharaoh page. If you're lucky enough to live in New York, every Tuesday at, I have the wrong time here yet again.
Did you do that again?
No, I'm not married. Every Tuesday
There's
at
no more
1:15
Pharaoh
at 9:30 p.m.
That's right.
And on Saturday at 11 a.m.
Okay.
And on Channel 20 Tuesday at 9 p.m.
Okay.
All right. Again, I want to say we've got a very special guest, which it's been a very, very long time. Our former partner, and we'll get into it. I call him John Sawyer,
Mm-hmm. That's what I call him.
but he wants to be known as his real name.
Well, that's what he is. That's his real name. So that is what he is. But I'm always going to think of him as John Sawyer and Boondocks. It's just, I'm
Well, you always
sorry.
remember-
It's
Well,
embedded in my brain.
We'll be right
man.
back after this commercial break with comedian, pro wrestler,
Can I say it?
and podcaster.
Mr. John Lambros. See you in a second.
Hi, it's John from Under the Table Hot Sauce. I'm here with my friend, the star of the show, Jimmy Pharaoh.
Yeah, what's up, JB?
Nah, nothing.
It's been a hot summer, and for all your barbecue needs, you can go to underthetablehotsauce.com. 13 unique flavors to choose from, created and bottled in a Long Island kitchen. Underthetablehotsauce.com. Let's go chow, JB.
Let's do it.
All the flavor, twice the burn. Oh, what's up, Mike?
Hey, Jimmy, what's going on?
Yeah, nothing much.
You know, Jimmy, I love this country.
Oh.
I love to buy made in America material. And I love to buy my artwork at TAG, T-A-A-G, Made in America, 14 East Broadway, Port Jefferson, New York, 11717. The shop at the corner. In the mood for a freshly roasted cup of coffee? www.offtherailscoffeeroasters.com. All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestler broadcast, Monte the Pharaoh, only seen here out of Indie Music TV, where we're welcoming our special guest. I'm calling him John Sawyer. I'm sorry. John Sawyer, how are you, John?
Monte, Jimmy, that guy. Good to be here.
That guy?
John,
Wait a
it's been a
minute.
long time, man.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. So tell us, last time I saw you, you were a pro wrestler, you were a podcaster, and now you're a full-time comedian. What's been going on in the life of John Sawyer?
Well, I wouldn't say full time. I mean, come on.
What?
5 days a week?
Yeah, but it's a weird business. You should know about how
I know about
strange.
weird, but, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I have the real job, but on the side, I've been pursuing stand-up comedy since 2019, and I've been loving every second of it. I haven't really been making any milestones other than, well, I consider this a milestone, but I don't know if others would. I got to do stand-up in the same building as Andrew Dice Clay.
It doesn't matter what others think, my friend. That's cool. Andrew Dice Clay, same stage?
Same building. Well, what happened
That's
was
cool.
it was over the summer of 2021 at Governor's in Levittown, the main Governor's Comedy Club location. They have 3 different showrooms, and during the summer, all 3 of them are active. There's the main room, which has had like Eddie Murphy, Kevin Hart, all these big stars have been in that room before. Then they have a more intimate room, which was called the Little Room at the time. Now it's called the Giggle Room. That's for more smaller private events, whether it's someone's birthday or whatever. And then there's the outdoor patio. I was doing an open mic in the Little Room while Dice was working in the main room. So, of course, when I got there, I asked the guy running the mic, I was like, can I please go on second, just so I can go to the bar and watch Dice for the rest of the night? And he knew how big of a fan I was of the guy, and still am to this day. So I went up and did my 5 minutes. I think I bombed. And then I went straight to the bar and, did what they call
How do
taking
you know if you bomb or not?
Can
Why-
you
like,
can
how
you
do
feel
even
it in
know
the
that?
room as a performer if you're doing well or not? I would think so,
I
right?
think it's more of just a sense of, I don't know how you put it, but let's just say any comic who acts like they're going to kill it, 24 all the time, isn't a real comic. The real personality a comic tends to have is, they're going up there, they're going to try their best, but they also have in the back of their mind, holy crap, this could go wrong at any moment, which is kind of a thrill for us. It's kind of like you're on that boat that's rocking back and forth. You don't know if you're going to stay afloat or if you're going to fall overboard and drown,
It sounds like showbiz.
Yeah. There's no, it's not like musicians. Comics don't have hits. We have plenty of misses, but we don't have hits. And I'm sure plenty of other stand-ups out there would agree with me. But yeah, I got to watch Dice, and in the business they call it taking class, when a comic watches another comic who's been around longer than them. And what better comic to take class from than one of the OGs, in my opinion, of raw comedy. The first comic ever to sell out Madison Square Garden twice. Definitely a New York legend, and he was awesome seeing him in person. But I remember about 30 minutes prior to that, one of the open micers that I was in the room with, for the open mic, got in a little bit of trouble that night. I'm not going to say the guy's name. Whenever Governors has a big name, excuse me, my voice seems a little hoarse. Whenever Governors has a big name at the club, normally when they get brought to the main green room, the door's wide open and they're very friendly and personable and they're talking to the other comics. Dice is not like that. I'm not saying he's a dick, but he's very private and he's very, reserved. So 90%, usually when he's there, I learned this from when I was there, he keeps the door shut and there's a sign on it that says, "No one enter unless you're," and he has a list, family, agent,
I think it's funny that Dice's career has trumbled so much that he was fucking doing comedy at Governors. Seriously,
Considering
think about
that
it.
once upon a time he was selling out Madison Square Garden. Yeah, that's interesting.
I guess the
I'd
statement's
leave the
true,
door
right?
open if I was him.
He's still,
Yeah.
What the fuck?
he's still
So you didn't get
backing him.
anywhere near him? You didn't get anywhere near him?
I didn't get anywhere near him, no, but it didn't bother me.
No,
'cause
I'm
the
not-
fact that-
well,
the
that's,
fact that I
you know.
still got to see him.
Right.
No,
No,
that was good enough for
I
me.
got that part, but it's a shame you didn't get a chance to maybe talk to him.
Yeah, but
So that kind of makes me laugh, John. So I was thinking about that, right? You were a wrestler, and I'm sure a lot of times all these kids were totally into you, and they're looking for your autograph, and
Yeah.
you're the star. And now, meanwhile, now you're a comedian trying another career, and now you're marking out for some guy. Like, isn't that weird? Like that whole kids are marking out for you. Like, which is more important to you? Like, you marking out for some dude, or the other way
There's
around?
nothing wrong
Why am I
with-
using the word mark? I don't know.
Because this is a wrestling show?
I guess so.
there's nothing wrong with having influences and having people
Right.
you look up to.
Yeah.
It's how you handle it.
Yeah.
I learned a long time ago to drop the whole fanboy shtick once I started being around, other higher talent. And dating back to when I was on the Independents, and I would do shows with X-Pac and
Right.
your buddy Tony Atlas,
There you go.
The last thing I would do around guys like that is be like, "Oh my God, sign this, take a picture here, call my father," sign. I wouldn't do any of that. It's much more realistic for someone in my position, and I assume people in your position, to treat them more like equals, because that's probably what they want in the long run.
Yeah.
They don't want to do business with someone who's going to put them on a pedestal and kiss their ass the whole time. They'd rather, have that sense of professionalism. So if I was honored enough to be in the same room with Dice, in a conversational standpoint, I'd still keep the professionalism there. But there's always that thought in the back of my head, like, wow, I'm, sharing the room with this guy I look up to. And there's plenty of guys in wrestling who I've had that, opinion with as well. But yeah, it's all about how you handle it. I don't find it weird at all unless you handle it weird.
Yeah, you don't want to wind up being a Mark weirdo. That wouldn't be a good thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to say thanks. I already have...
Can I finish the story, by the way, I was going to tell about Dice in the green room?
Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off. There was an older comic doing the open mics with us who swore to everybody in the room that him and Dice started together at this club called Pips in Brooklyn, which no longer exists. And, of course, like I mentioned earlier, the dressing room door was shut. A sign that said, "Do not enter." This guy just walked right on in. "Hey, Dice, my name's so-and-so." We started, and without missing a beat, Dice goes, "Get the fuck out of here," and starts throwing water bottles at us.
Very nice.
The rest of us were just laughing.
Let's
up a
throw
storm.
water bottles at him.
Wow. Dice.
The Dice is special.
I wonder if the guy really truly did start with him years and years. Maybe he has a memory from a million years ago, and Dice was like, "Get the fuck out! That can't feel too good."
But this goes back to when I said handling it weird and handling it not weird. That guy
Right.
handled it weird.
Well, I wouldn't go. I myself wouldn't go barging in, so I got that part about
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, you were
Wait a
saying-
minute, hold on. I want to understand something before we move on.
Yeah.
The guy's playing fucking Governors. Okay,
Yeah.
let's get realistic
Absolutely.
here. Right? Governors, for anybody that doesn't know, is a Long Island spot for comedy.
It's a
One
good
of the
one, though.
very
It's a good
few
one.
comedy
It's a good
places,
one.
right?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Hold on.
As far as Long Island.
It's a good one
Right.
for Long Island,
Right.
right?
Right.
My point, and again, I'm not knocking Governors, okay? But the point of the matter is, you're playing Governors, Dice. What do you got to sit in your something? I mean,
Yeah,
come on, man.
he doesn't have to do that to the up-and-comers. I agree with you.
Let's get a little realistic.
I don't
here.
expect him to throw him under the bus, but yeah, I think that kind of sucks.
It's
You know,
it's kind of
personally,
ridiculous. It's like
you know.
get get your shit together
Yeah.
and like
Well, the worst part is
understand where you are in the
it's-
world.
Well, here's the worst part. It sounds to me like he forgot where he came from. Forget where you are. How about remember where you come from? As far as that goes. But that's Dice for you. I mean, like Dice was a great stand-up comedian back in the day. The movie thing didn't work out so great, but you know.
Fort
No, he's
Fairlane,
actually
it
made
was.
some decent movies.
What did he? Fort Fairlane tanked when he came
You're talking
out.
about old. He was in Blue Jasmine, which is a Woody Allen movie.
Oh, okay.
Which is
Okay,
actually
nicely
pretty good.
done. Okay.
He was in
Okay.
A Star Is Born, the remake, as the father. He was actually.
So maybe that's why he had his door closed.
He's playing governors, dude.
I'm trying to
You're
bail him
trying
out
to do what
here.
you can here, but the guy's playing
get-
governors.
Unbelievable.
All right. So anyway.
Anyway, well, again, I said it on a previous show. Thanks for your social media post about us. I was actually surprised because in the past I wasn't sure if you hated my guts. So basically, why do you think it was back in those days that it didn't work out perhaps the way you might have hoped it would?
I think it was a sense of immaturity, lack of realism, lack of common sense. I wanted my show that I was running to be the pro wrestling version of the Opie and Anthony show and the Howard Stern show. Just this laid back, non-scripted hangout, where guys can just shoot the shit, talk the business, and and all that. Then I learned about how strong the FCC is and how they would fine the crap out of you if you go this route. And I'm not exactly a wealthy man, so I was like, okay, let me find a way to do something different, And I kept trying different things, and clearly, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, I had no business running a show, like a broadcast of any kind. And at this point, I still don't, But
why do you say that, John? I thought you actually did a pretty solid job.
and so did others. But you ever do something and you think to yourself, what am I doing here? Like whether it's you're trying a new workout or you're going to see a certain movie that you're unsure of,
Right.
and then like 5 minutes in, you're thinking, Jesus, what the hell is wrong with me? But you still want to go through with it, just so you don't back out, That's kind of how I felt in some episodes. Somebody asked me, would I ever do podcasting again? And I said yes, only to the condition of that I have a following watching, because I've done shows where there was nobody watching, and this is before you guys came in the picture, like when I had Joe Herb and Patrick Wynn with me, and it just feels pointless. You're talking into a microphone about whatever, and sometimes you're talking about topics and you're really pouring your heart out about how passionate you are, only to realize that nobody's listening. Or if they are listening, it's the regulars.
But in life in general, right, it's about hard work, right? It's like, there's no such thing as instant gratification.
Right.
So it's like, do you think that you just didn't want to do the work? Like, what was the reason behind, like, give me 1 second. I want to get my thought out. So you wanted to do this, you really wanted to do it, and you realize no one's really watching. Do you think you just didn't want to do the work to build the audience?
I was, and this is where the lack of common sense came in, I thought I already had an audience because I was fresh out of the wrestling business at the time, and I thought that I had people watching me there. I was wrong. So I guess, I probably didn't feel up to doing the work at the time. But it was all, I was a kid. I was in my early 20s. What guy do you know in their early 20s is going to make bright decisions all the time, So, but.
I mean, let me ask you this. You seemed pretty happy when I first met you.
Yeah.
And this is a question I've always wanted to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever think back, like, I wish I never had invited this dude on the show because it might have turned out differently?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Whether people come into your life for the whole way.
I mean, I'll share with you. My wife felt that once I settled after show 2 or something like that, that I basically ran you over like a car and took over the show. I don't remember it quite like that. I just remember you being a young kid and me being an older guy. Because I was doing it for shits and giggles, I'll be honest with you. And I remember being an older guy trying to guide you a little bit. And to be honest with you, I felt like this is where I agree with you. I didn't think you wanted any guidance. You wanted it your way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I thought things weren't working out because of that. I mean, that's just my opinion.
You guys had your vision and I had mine, and they were.
Well, you got to
completely-
remember, when I first started, I didn't have a vision, right? It was shits and giggles. I was taught. Jimmy and I went to high school together, and then we hadn't spoken for 10-something years, really, right?
Yeah, we had
kinda-
lost some touch.
We had lost touch.
We've had a couple of those.
And I think
over the
Jimmy
years.
saw me on the show.
Yeah.
And then he contacted me, and we just used to bullshit. In fact, I tell a story.
Well,
Jimmy,
we were talking.
Yeah,
it wasn't
right.
like I discovered
Yeah,
you
right, yeah,
again on
right.
this. Let's not get crazy
Right.
here. You know, John, I gotta ask you one thing though. Since we're on the whole, and this, I need an answer to this. We come in, and I felt like we were starting to implement some good shit with you. We get Gary Michael Capetta on the show. Remember?
Yes.
Remember when we had Gary Michael Capetta?
His birthday's coming up.
Yeah, well, we still love Gary Michael Capetta. We've had him on several times since.
Right,
He's
yeah.
a great guy. What I just need to know for my own sanity, what happened after that? I don't know if you remember, but Gary gave out tickets to his event. He was going to be holding a show in Queens area. And he gave them out, and one of your listeners who was there before we were ever on the show won it. Why did you not come to the show that night? We needed you there. You're part of the show. Gary Michael Capetta is appearing. He did an interview for us, and he's giving out tickets. I just got to get this off my chest because we were sitting at the show, and the guy the kid who won the tickets, didn't even have the decency to come over and thank us, and then later on accused us of stealing your show. Now, for that person who I hope is listening tonight, I'm going to make this nice and clean. There is not one thing creatively, not one thing business-wise, and not one thing model-wise that was ever copied from John's show. And that's a fact. We are way different from every other show out there, which is why people either love us or hate us, want us to see us doing this forever, or want us off the air yesterday. But this is our thing, So, John, I've always liked you. I enjoyed watching you wrestle. I always felt you're a bright guy. Were you just getting done with the wrestling business in general? What made you not come to Gary that night?
It was a combination of getting really sick of the business.
That's fair.
Because of the political crap.
Oh, there's a lot of it.
But it was also, and this is a more smaller reason, but it's still a reason, I didn't feel comfortable traveling into the city.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got to admit I'm that way myself.
Yeah,
but
and the show was in the city.
yeah, it was right by Shea, where
you
Shea
know,
used to be, by the Mets.
Like, I didn't start driving until I quit wrestling in December 2016. Started the show in January. I didn't start driving until at least May or June. So I was still new to, driving. And like I said, I didn't feel comfortable driving into the city. So, I can be a bit paranoid at times, especially behind the wheel when there's crappy drivers all around you.
In New York? Oh, no,
Yeah.
never.
So,
But didn't so Gary, right? You openly admitted the show no one was really watching at the time, right? We were just slowly building an audience.
Yeah.
Gary is a famous ring announcer, right?
Yes.
I mean, if you know wrestling, he's a very famous ring announcer.
one of the greatest.
Didn't you feel guilty that you weren't supporting this guy who supported you? Like, I could personally tell you that bothered me, right? It was like we felt like we owed Gary this, right? I mean, the guy, look, for a brand new show, you did have some decent stars on.
Simon Gotch was on.
Yeah,
it.
right.
Simon Gotch.
That was a good catch.
I felt like, Gary Michael Capetta was a big deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember for us, we were like, holy
I was
cow,
thrilled.
this is incredible.
Thrilled.
Didn't you feel guilty like you owed this guy something?
at the time, no.
Do you realize years later, wait a minute, this might have been the wrong business move?
I can see if he thought that way, if he felt that way, and I could definitely see.
I don't think Gary thought anything. I'm just
No,
saying, what we were thinking.
We're not speaking on behalf of Gary Michael Capetta.
no.
I'm just wondering if you think about it years later, it's like shit. That's Gary Michael Capetta. The concept is to slowly build something. You got to get guests. You got to do the dance.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was basically it. Do you miss pro wrestling?
Yes and no. I miss the camaraderie. I miss being around like-minded people. I miss the performance aspect. I don't miss not knowing who to trust. I don't miss watching what I say. I don't miss, feeling like sometimes I have to defend myself for real, because there have been times, and you can look up the Bruiser Brody incident for an example, where guys would, take liberties on others for some of the dumbest reasons on the planet. Wrestler A says something about wrestler B.
What was the worst thing you saw in the locker room?
Worst thing I saw in the locker room? Probably a young disabled kid who was in training to become a wrestler get told by the trainer at one moment, "You're doing great, keep up the good work," but the minute they left, these people started trashing him.
He's just taking his money?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
Part of me wanted to say something, but I knew, considering the environment, if I said something, next thing you know, I'm a victim.
How's your body holding up now that you've stopped taking bumps?
It's okay.
I mean, there must be less pain, I would hope.
Yeah, but then there are those days where, like, you make a wrong turn and you feel it in your legs. It's
Right.
granted, I only did it for 4 years, but that's still 4 years of constant training, constant throwing yourself to the ground.
How many shows do you think you did? Did you ever write them down and go, shit, over 4 years I took so many such and such bumps in so many shows?
I never wrote anything down because I was too focused on what's
What's coming next?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How did you decide to become a wrestler to start with?
Well, I've always loved it. I can remember being 3 or 5 years old, and I'm at my house in Yaphank. I grew up in the Yaphank area.
Okay.
Playing with Hot Wheels cars, and my dad would put on the TV just so that there's noise in the background.
Did Dad like wrestling?
Oh, he loved wrestling.
Nice.
He still does.
Cool.
And I remember seeing it was the King of the Ring finals where Austin beat
really?
Jake the Snake.
Nice.
That's my first memory of pro wrestling.
You stand there and thump your Bible.
Yeah, when he's standing there with Michael Hayes and he's cut that promo. Of course, I was too young to understand what he was talking about.
Right.
But just something drew me to the TV.
He had it. Austin.
At that same token, comedy came into my life, at an early age too. I remember when the original Last Comic Standing TV show, first started on NBC. And that took my attention just as much too. But the wrestling bug was more stronger at the time, so I wound up going for that. But there'd be plenty of moments during my run where guys like Bad Boy Rocky Shore, who trained me and broke me into the business, he'd be like, "John, you thought about doing stand-up?" I'm like, no, I'm not funny when I try. He's like, "Oh, you don't gotta try, you're natural," And people would tell me, you should give it a shot. And I always kept it in the back of my mind. And it took being away from wrestling for a while and going through the podcasting thing, eventually I realized I missed the feeling of performing in front of a live audience, because nothing can replicate that.
Sure.
Nothing. It's natural. It just, you don't know what it's like unless you've done it, So I signed up for an open mic, and the rest is history.
Did you find it easier to perform as a comedian in front of people with the wrestling past experience that you performed in front of people?
Yeah.
Did you find it a lot easier for you to do?
Yeah. I'm already comfortable in front of a crowd.
Okay.
So stage fright's not a problem for me.
Right. Right.
It's more,
How about hecklers? What do you do when you're dealing with hecklers?
it depends on the circumstance.
Okay. Are you a victim of circumstance when it happens? I'm a victim of circumstance.
Define victim of circumstance.
Oh, it's really just a curly joke from the Three Stooges.
Oh.
But basically, I mean, have you learned how to respond to them? Do you have to? You got to be quick on your feet and faster in your mind, obviously, when this happens.
I usually take the polite route at first. How I respond is their call. They can either shut up and I continue with my act, or they can keep pressing buttons, and then my wit comes out, and I pretty much give them a little dressed out.
Just as difficult to get the comedian life in with a regular job as it was wrestling, or harder?
No, it's a little more easier because there's no specific way to approach stand-up. I remember hearing Bert Kreischer, who's a very well-known comic in the Los Angeles, California area. he said on a podcast as an advice to up and coming comics, do it your way. Screw the system, screw what other people tell you, do it your way. While in wrestling, there's not only the traditional way, but there's all these other ways that go with it. You know, in wrestling, I was very proud to have been trained old-fashioned by guys like Rocky Shore, who was trained by gentleman Chris Adams at the world-class championship wrestling school in Texas. Louis Fabiano, who was trained by the Wild Samoans. I did a seminar with Jimmy Hart. I did a seminar with Greg Valentine. And I learned from these guys, you know, the original old-fashioned way to, you know, take bumps, sell, tell a story in the ring. And I was proud about that. But once I actually started doing shows, and this is where one of the headaches from my run came, there were all these new styles, you know, like the spotty AEW style that you see now. And, you know, it would be a case of like, oh, he doesn't know it my way, so that means he's untrained and he's crap. And then there would be button heads, and, you know, it just became a giant pain in the ass.
So it became difficult to be a traditional big guy.
Yeah, it became very difficult.
It's kind of sad.
And
when you think about it.
And considering the way the business is now, it's probably 10 times more difficult.
I would think.
I can remember watching Dave Bautista when he was hot, you know, and doing his run. When he would do his power bomb, he only needed to do it one time.
Right.
And that was the finish. Watch a Wardlow match. He'll do it 9 times.
Right.
And they'll throw the guy out of the ring.
Well, that's just AEW stupidity. Fortunately, we got Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley and guys like
Lesnar and Lashley are godsends. You know, I love watching those guys.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you know, comedy, you know, there is no way. You just got to go about it the way you see fit, and that's why I love it so much, you know.
Hey, John, I want to go back. You wrote that wonderful thing on social media when we had this breakdown and we thought we were going to end the show, which, by the way, was real. We were going to end it, and then the fans asked us to try again and keep going, right? But I felt two things. I felt, one, a very kindness on your part, but on the other hand, I felt reading it that you felt slighted in a way. Why, when we decided to start the Monte and the Pharaoh and break away from John Sawyer, and you were part of it, you only lasted 3 episodes, which you clearly wrote. Why did you call it a day? What was the reason?
Because I could see that I would not last as far as the tempo of your program. I could talk wrestling all day long, but then if you bring up another subject, like say, I remember when the singer Fats Domino passed away. You guys covered him and talked about, you know, that era of music. I don't know anything about that era of music. You know, I remember one time the Yankees were doing something in the playoffs. You guys were talking about the Yankees in the playoffs. I come from a family of baseball fans, my father being a Met fan, but I don't know shit about baseball, you know? So on one hand, you know, you got the main subject, which is wrestling, which I'm perfectly fine talking about. But then there'd be other times where I just didn't think I'd know what to say,
Well,
you know?
Did you think at some point, though, that like, hey, look, this is just going to be some other show that no one's going to watch? Because, again, when we first started,
nobody believed
there was no one watching.
Yeah.
Did you like, I'm just wasting my time
We had a
here?
plan, though.
And was that part of it too? Or?
I thought that I was wasting my time, not because I thought little about your show, but because I didn't think that I could hang with the other subjects that you guys were speaking of.
Do you wish that maybe you would have hung in there, though, considering what ended up happening?
Looking back, I probably would have given it more of a college try, but, you know.
Because, again, I'm going to reiterate, you're a talented guy.
Thank you.
I always used to say to Jimmy, when we were doing the show on the John Sawyer show, your intros were spot on.
Yeah.
You were very clean all the time.
Yeah.
You know, you did a very solid job. So let's get some clarity here. So you leave, you decide to leave. It's I don't want to call it a mutual decision, right? You just decide to leave, and we said, okay, goodbye, right? It wasn't like, stay. It wasn't an argument or anything like that. When did it start to go bad? Because I'm just telling you my revisionist history. Was I remember you just going on the attack on social media. I can't remember anything else. I think Pharaoh hears it differently, but I remember the first attack being on Pharaoh was in a very famous band back in the late 80s. They did very well.
We were one of the best
And I
three,
remember your attack
top
on
three
social
according to
media, and
WBAB
I don't
bands on
remember-
Long Island.
I don't remember why you started the attack, or was it that we were attacking you? I don't remember. How did it happen?
What happened was, and let me preface this by saying, to the people watching, me and these guys are fine. There's no more tension. There's no more, beef. I assume there's no more of that.
No, man.
We're just being grown adults talking.
Yeah.
We're talking.
You hear that, YouTube? Grown adults talking. Continue.
I remember calling Monte. Actually, no. I remember Jimmy called me first and said, "Hey, John, the show is, going to be ending soon, And I said, "Oh, well, okay, I took your word for it, And you said, yeah, if you ever decide to do anything else and you need a co-host, let me know." And I wasn't going to be doing anything else at the time, but I said, okay, thank you, So then I sat and thought about it, and I was like, yeah, let me call Monte and tell him, hey, thanks for the opportunity, but I'd like to take a graceful bow out here and move on, which is what I did.
Wait a minute, hold on. I missed that. So Jimmy called you.
Jimmy called me first.
Okay.
Jimmy called me first and told me that you guys were going to be ending the show. For what reason, I don't know. So I took his word for it. And
I don't remember that.
yeah. Well, this was a while ago.
I think you've just been called out.
I don't remember anything
All right, go
about
ahead.
that. But
Go ahead, John.
I
So-
remember calling John and telling him he's got talent and not to give up on himself. I remember
Well,
that.
that was
much.
also that was.
But I don't remember us ever saying our show was ending. I don't remember
So
anything
go ahead,
like
John.
that.
Tell the story.
That was another part of the phone call.
Okay.
You
Go
said
ahead.
towards the end, you got talent. Hope you stick with it.
Yeah, I remember saying that. Yeah.
So I called Monte afterwards, and I said, hey Monte, I heard the show's ending. And
And what did I say?
well, you didn't say anything at first, but I said I'd like to take a graceful bow out. Thinking if you had anything else, planned, with other show. I didn't know what was on your agenda as far as your Monte and the Pharaoh production. So I remember saying, I'd like to take a graceful bow, but thank you for the opportunity. Best of luck with everything else. And Monte said, thanks for, helping us out, blah, blah, blah. And then that was that. So then I guess something happened where you guys didn't end the show and kept it going, So I remember I was with a friend at the time, and another friend sends me a text saying, have you been on Facebook lately? And I hadn't been on in a couple hours, so I'm like, no. And he's like, go on Facebook and look up, Monte's thing. He's taking shots at you. So I'm like,
Okay.
what's this all about? So I pull it up, and I don't hear my name at first. So I'm like, I just see him talking to some blonde chick, like where are the shots? He goes, play it from the beginning. So I rewind it to the beginning, and I've never, when it comes to my real jobs, I don't go public about it, I feel being an entertainer, at the time, I felt while being an entertainer, if someone was to refer to me as, John the stock boy or John the deli cashier, that was a demeaning, comment. So I played the episode from the beginning, and, Monte introduces whoever was sitting there. It was a blonde woman, about middle-aged, And then he goes, oh, by the way, that is not John Sawyer. John was needed to stock the shelves at Walmart, and
That's pretty funny.
yeah,
Did I say that?
Yeah, you did say that. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, so
So you attacked my band? Leave my fucking band out of it. What the fuck?
Wait a minute. Why,
Seriously?
Why wasn't he there then?
well,
I don't remember
And
this.
I never told you what you said in the beginning. I did give you a pep talk, but I never was like the show's ending. Now, especially
Well,
after
if you
we
weren't
just
there,
started.
if you weren't there,
Didn't we? What, were we just starting with the Monte and the Pharaoh thing?
There's more to the story.
Go ahead,
Wait,
I'm listening.
I'm dizzy. Go
There's more
ahead.
to the story.
Now you're intriguing
I
me.
texted Monte after he went off the air.
Uh-oh.
I texted Monte after he went off the air.
Okay.
And I wasn't.
Was I even on this show? You mentioned a blonde woman. I don't remember anything about this.
It was. I didn't.
Who was the blonde woman?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I remember texting Monte, and I wasn't aggressive. I said something along the lines of, I just, was polite and gave a graceful bow out, I wish you the best,
Right.
and now you're saying this, what's going on? And I guess, because text can be easily misinterpreted.
Yeah.
So maybe Monte took it as me, lashing at him. So
Okay.
I remember getting like this big page, you know.
What did you do?
It's like I did right by you, and
Hey, listen, just because Andrew Dice Clay and Opie and Anthony might be a couple of his influences, what are you going to do? I mean,
So,
Go ahead, John.
so I didn't say anything, but then I would get friends telling me, oh, did you see Monte? I'm like, what happened? So I would turn on, and then I would see this. Like one time, you guys would have this thing where you would go, "What does everybody want?" Head, and then a picture of me would come on the screen.
It's pretty funny.
Or or one time.
Wow.
Yeah.
what the fuck? No wonder. Well, what? Well, he wasn't in the band. I guess you couldn't rag on his
Right.
band.
But
This is rough.
But once that started, it was like, okay, now.
Well, John, with all due respect, you do have a
Very
size.
Yeah,
You have a sizable head,
bro. It's
You're a
huge.
sizable guy.
He's
I
a big
do.
dude.
I
You
do.
know,
I
he is.
do.
He's a big dude.
But
Oy.
more of it kept going on.
Wow, I forgot about all that. Jesus Christ.
But more of it kept
Ruthless.
going on, and at the time I was being quite immature, hence why the responses started coming. And one of the responses was, I made some meme that said, I forgot what the meme said, but it was a picture, it was like a 2-frame picture. The frame above was you and your band, and the frame.
I know what she said. You don't got to repeat
He
it.
never got over it.
I'm still mad about it
What did I
because
say?
that band was one of the 3 best bands, according to Bob Buckman from BAB. All right,
What did I
he
say?
said we reminded him of the Rolling Stones. You said something about what starts at the cellar winds back up in the cellar.
Oh, did I say that?
Something like that. Yeah, Rabbit, yeah. And I was like thinking to myself, I was like, shit, I could play right now and fill up your...
Well,
I was like,
you
wait,
lashed back at me pretty good because I remember somebody screenshotting a Facebook post you put out telling me to drop dead. And
Oh, that
all the
wasn't
other-
me. I would never tell you. to
That
drop
was you.
dead.
No, that was you.
I would never tell you to drop dead.
That was you.
Wow, I was evil that day.
You were mean.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
well, I really don't want you to drop dead.
No, I know.
Just leave my band alone. What the fuck?
Hey, it was immaturity on my part.
In actuality, if I was busting your balls that much, I really don't think it was that bad. You have a right to retaliate.
Yeah.
And he did.
And
On my band.
But think about it. But that was
Nice job, by the
it was
way,
pretty
John.
good.
It was really
pretty good. It
no,
was
it
pretty
was.
good.
He did well. He really did.
It was a good comeback.
Yeah, he got like miss.
Look,
heat
John,
for- he
we're
got miss
almost
heat
out
from
of
me.
time. I want you to tell the fans out there. First of all, so glad to have
Yeah.
you here.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Again, I always thought you were a wonderful wrestler.
I enjoyed
I
it.
always thought you were excellent on the radio.
Does a
and
great
I have
Ronald
not
Reagan.
seen your comedy, so I can't really do on that. But I'm glad that you said you're doing it 5 days a week. So
He's
I'm
out
glad
there.
to see
He's
that
doing it.
going
Just
on.
keep doing it, dude. Keep doing
Where
it.
can people see you? Where could people, if they're looking for a comedian for shows, how can they contact you?
You can find me on Twitter at Lambros Comedy and all other forms of social media at Johnny Lambros Comedy, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And if you want to contact for business inquiries, you can send me an email at johnnylambroscomedy@gmail.com and just make clear who you are and what your intentions are, and we'll negotiate from there.
Excellent.
Fair enough. Do I get a final question?
Sure do.
What would you change
Change what?
if you could change anything in your wrestling, in your comedy, in your podcasting? Is there anything that, if you go back, you might want to
I'd probably pursue comedy from the very beginning
Nice.
and just stick with that.
I can work with that.
It's not about what you love. It's more about what you're good at. But you can turn that into a love, it's like the old Paul Heyman method. Take away, accentuate the positives, hide the weaknesses. The more you accentuate your strengths and the positives, the better you'll do. And I feel with comedy, I'm doing just that.
It's pretty good.
So thank you, gentlemen, for having me. And
No, thank you.
no
for
hard
coming
feelings
on.
about the.
No, dude, those feelings were. Listen,
Feelings? I don't even have any feelings. Anyway, go ahead.
we've had the privilege to be able to do this show, especially out of this studio, and the connection with my old friend Jimmy. So you were the spark that even started it off. Without you, it probably doesn't happen. And so, again, honestly, if obviously it's probably recorded. Obviously, I did all the stuff that you're saying I did. So, first of all, it was only a jest, right? But
Well, obviously, we're all sitting here now.
no,
so-
but I mean, even back then, it was just a jest.
He's such a troublemaker. He's so bad,
I never.
I'm
But
telling you.
the point of the matter is that you're a really good guy, very talented guy, and you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you came to the studio, and it's an honor to have you back here.
Thank you.
For what we'll call this little reunion.
Thank you.
But well, thank you for getting us our start. So, and thank you again for that very kind social media.
Yeah,
thing.
that
course.
rocked.
Of course.
And John, the only advice I can give to you, because I know you're gonna work hard to make this thing happen for you. Only advice I can give you as a guy who's been entertaining forever: knock on that door till your knuckles hurt, and if they don't answer it, knock harder.
Oh, I'm kicking that motherfucker off the
Knock
edges.
the fuck harder.
I'm kicking it off the
Man,
edges.
that's the right attitude, bro.
Knock it down.
That's
I want
the
to thank
right
everybody for joining us. We will see everybody in 8 minutes, where
Oh, wow.
we will have a special guest,
Straight from Samoa?
Lloyd Hanoi.
Wow.
Am I saying Hanoi right?
I don't know why.
But if you
Famous
did it,
Samoan.
you're gonna annoy him, I'll
Bloodline.
tell you that.
We'll see you in about 8 minutes.
Later.